put them in the chat box. Both Nikki and I will be monitoring that during the course of the roundtable, and we'll be able to say those things for you. Otherwise, you're always free to open up your mic, just clicking on that little icon on the bottom left and speak to any of the subjects that come up. I have a few questions to start us off, but like any roundtable, it really depends on your participation and sharing to get the information out there. Also, if you want, to share some information or a web page or a link, you can also type that into the chat box, and we'll make sure that at the end we'll get everybody a copy of the chat box. Also, for your information, this roundtable is being recorded. It'll be up on our website for review for people who don't quite make it, or if you want to catch something else. In the meantime, again, welcome. We were just talking about the snowfall that we had throughout the state. It was really quite something for a lot of us, and many of us are still digging out. I see Heather and Stephanie have put their names and where their departments in the chat box, and that's always helpful, especially if you want to reach out to somebody a little bit later. We will send out a link to the recording, the chat box, and to everyone on the same email. All right, so let's talk weather. Did the snow help or hinder your programs? Now, I know, Philly, you can't park anywhere, but, how did the programs go?
I'm sorry.
Did anyone do anything special with the snow? Go ahead, George.
We're cut down right now to being almost we're access centers now. So where we are basically facilitating classrooms. So you were talking about the amount of snow, they closed us for 2 days. So we didn't do anything. We were working at home. I personally was working on baseball and a couple other people were, but as far as doing stuff program wise, when they shut down the city of Philadelphia, city employees are happy when they hear that time. So really we haven't done anything for the last 2 days. Sorry.
Okay. Anybody else want to share anything that happened within their departments or at their departments because of the snow? Did you do a pop-up program or snowman contest, anything like that?
I did a pop-up snowman contest. So far, we've gotten one person to send me a picture of their snow creation that they did. So I could also say that I've been hiding Cupid in the park, which started February 1st. But of course, with the snowfall, he is snowed in. And, I just found out this morning that our parks are really not even plowed out yet. So, I hit him on Sunday just because of the snow, but now people can't get to him. So rethinking that idea. But that's like plans sometimes. You need to be flexible. So
that's right. Karen, you want to explain what Cupid in the park is for me? Because I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's like Elf on the Shelf or something.
Exactly. It's a spin-off from Elf on the Shelf, but I picked a little gorilla that's red with a big, heart on its chest, and he is being hid around various parks, and you post on Facebook what his viewpoint is and a little clue on how to get to him, and then they'll post a selfie of them on our Facebook page, and then we'll give out some gift cards to those that actually do that for us. So, yeah, Cupid the gorilla in the park.
And have you had a lot of response on that?
I've had a couple people ask whether it was still going on with the snow. So I did have somebody post this morning saying, wow, I really can't trudge through that much snow to get a picture, and then I'm like, aren't the parks open? I just assumed they were, we've had some nice days, but we have some equipment issues here in Muhlenberg. So the parks have not been opened as they normally have been after a storm. Of course, we got almost 2 feet here, so it's a lot to move as well. So roads are much more important than our park system, but darn, it's put a real twist into my little program here.
It adds to the allure of people who could actually trek out into a park and find them, right?
Yes.
Might work. Anyone else do something special with the snow?
I'm trying to have our insurance check into the liability to actually put out a sled station since there's so many great hills. But I saw it online where people like made a frame and put sleds in it to use. So
Uh-huh.
we're looking into that right now while we have this much snow, especially since we're getting more snow. So I should have the sleds here by tomorrow and hopefully an approval from the solicitor soon.
And Jane, do you allow sledding in some of your parks already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
I just think it'd be neat if we actually had a station where someone could grab one and put it back.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone else think about that or have some help for Jane on that one? All right. All right, guys, we're up to 52 participants today. So that's quite a statement, a lot of programmers here. Let's talk about what we've been talking about for close to a year now, since March will be almost an anniversary for us of COVID and its introduction to our state. And so I was wondering how programming is going, our events are going due to, the continued COVID situation. And, what does that look like for your spring programs? What are you guys planning? And George, I want to get to you. I saw your note about the esports and I wanted to learn more about that. But for right now, what's it look like going forward as far as, will you be doing some Easter egg hunts? And have you thought about how that's going to be done? And what about your other spring programs? So I'll leave it there.
Well, Dan, we're going to push our egg hunt back. It's just too early. Our board is not super comfortable yet. So we're going to do an Easter event in the summer at our pool. One, because we want to get rid of all the eggs that we're storing. So we'll tie it into this summer, and we had our pool open last summer, so we're pretty confident with our plan that. So we're pushing things back. We're still going forward with our fall event scheduling, but nothing really in the early season.
Okay. Anyone else want to chime in?
For us at East Hanover and Dauphin County, we're talking to the fire company for doing a drive-through parade, reverse parade again, like we did for Halloween. It went over really well. We had over 300 cars go through. So we would decorate the stall, have the trucks out with the Easter Bunny for people to take photos underneath, and hand stuff out from not just us, but local organizations can have tables set up to hand things out with two volunteers per table. And everybody was spread out. It worked really well. So we're looking to do that again, and maybe also run like a weekday evening bingo before Easter during their break. That would be online.
We're having our bunny extravaganza actually during spring fling. The downtown businesses quarterly do some type of open house type thing at their stores. So I'm gonna have my bunny extravaganza, which normally would be in the borough building, outside, and parents have to pre-register, and we're gonna take up a whole block of the town where everybody else will hopefully maybe be walking around town checking out local businesses. And instead of the volunteers helping the kids decorate hard-boiled eggs and making a craft and making a basket and filling their basket, the parents will actually help the child to do all the 5 different stations. So the volunteers will be behind the tables, but the parents will help the child do the activity. So we're hoping that it works out so we can have something, but it will be outside.
That's a good idea, is switching some of the tasks to the parents, and that's a good way to approach that with the COVID. Anyone else on Easter or spring events? Several of you are pushing things back, and that's understandable. And especially Easter is early this year, isn't it? It's like in March, I think.
Last week in March.
Last week in March. Thank you.
Philadelphia is doing some interesting, we do baseball in spring and summer. And since it's outdoor, we're going to be allowed to do it, but it's still, we have to have some fun ideas to get it that point. So what we're doing as far as registration goes, instead of having all the teams come to a meeting like we did in the past in the building, we're now scheduling certain age groups to come and register at different times. So we're now in compliance with the amount of people that are in the building at a time. And then also with the actual games outside, we still are being compliant by not allowing you to use the restrooms, but we're sending out the flyers saying in our rules that games are 2 hours long, whatnot. Just please make accommodations because they do not want the inside buildings open because the amount of people and cleaning would almost be impossible during those times. So we're adapting, but still trying to have our programs, which I think, I mean, I don't like the way it's going, but at least we can have some kind of semblance of normalcy with the sport.
Right, so you're limiting the restroom and avoiding that kind of a crowding situation where you might go against regulations, but also because utilizing the outdoors as much as you can to keep those social distancing and masks. Are you requiring masks for the teams or how are you doing that?
Because it's baseball and it's outside, there's not masks required for the actual participants and the players on the field. Because you're pretty much social distance as it is, but we are going to be doing where the coaches will have to quote unquote sign the form. Now, whether they enforce it will be covered. They'll say that ask all the players to make sure they're healthy. We don't have to actually do temperature checks for every player since it's outdoors, but we are telling the coaches, use common sense, check with your players. So since it's outdoor, we're not making them wear the masks, but that might be something we're told later. We might have to add masks if there's another outbreak in the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, thanks, George.
Dan, I
ahead.
could mention something about, Tom Romano over, I'm in Lexington, Mass. So something we're planning on doing for Easter's like a backyard egg hunt where people will come by and grab a kit that'll have like 10 filled eggs, and our school department is able to provide like a sugar cookie, some carrots, and some milk. And then we're going to get some little fun giveaways to put in there. So people will basically come by and grab this kit, and they'll be able to do it if they want to do it in their backyard or any park in town. But we've been doing some grab and goes. We did one in December and October, and they worked out really well. We had 250 families come by for each of them. So we're continuing with that, and we've found people to donate because the cost of them hasn't been terribly cheap, and we're not planning to charge people for them. But yeah, so it's been something fun that we're doing, and we hope to continue doing it. Probably will even go past when COVID is all in the background. We'll probably still continue to do this, but.
Okay, good, Tom. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyone else on spring programs?
We're doing a scavenger hunt because we're opening a new nature park. The best way to introduce it to people was to create a competition where people had to go over to it and take photo evidence of things. So we're doing a scavenger hunt where they'll have like almost a month to complete it. And then they have to email photos in. So they're entered in for bigger prizes, but everybody that participates at least gets something.
Mm-hmm. And that's to introduce a new park?
Yes, so it'll actually use both parks that we have. They'll have to go from one to the other. That's why we're giving them enough time to complete it. So they'll download the PDF or get a printout of the PDF with all the clues and everything that they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to email their evidence that they completed it.
Okay. All right, that sounds great, Jane. Do you have can you make the PDF available? Others might want to do that.
Yeah, they can tailor it to their park. So yeah, I can send that out. I could send it to Nikki or whoever wants to send it out.
Yeah, send it to me or Nikki.
Okay, sure.
And I'm just danh@prps.com. So I'll put it in the chat box there.
Hey,
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I don't, yeah, this is Mike in South Whitehall. I don't know if you'd be able to do a poll for us here, but I'd be real curious to see with all the departments on here, planning out even past spring into summer. You know, if folks are planning quote unquote normal summer youth programs and movies in the park and festivals and those sorts of things, or if everybody's kind of holding off on getting that stuff lined up at this point. I know a lot of people have to have their marketing materials for spring and together kind of sooner rather than later. So just kind of curious as to kind of the consensus across the state here is what people are looking to do, you know, 3 months, 6 months down the road here. And I know we'll all have to adjust on the fly, but just kind of curious.
Mike, that's an excellent question, and Nikki is going to work on a quick poll already. I do have to remind you that the polls from Zoom are are simplistic. They're
Sure.
yes, no type of answers. So we can run that, but I want to use, you know, I want to build on your question. I think it's a wonderful question. What are we doing looking forward? And this came up. You guys aren't alone. We had a director and supervisors roundtable yesterday, and this was also one of those questions is what's the timing of everything and how are you managing that? And also to Thomas's point, when things do get back to a near normal, how are you going to handle putting in the old classic traditional programs and keeping some of the best of what you've recently discovered and put in play? And you're still the same person, or you're still the same department, but you're actually going to be looking at a heck of a lot more effort to get this all together. So how are you guys planning on addressing all this?
I'm personally doing already through August, only on the things we know we can do around COVID. So like the drive-in movies that were safe, that people stayed in their cars and we didn't put sound out for people to be able to leave their vehicles. It went very well. So we're like putting those back into the schedule. And we did a drive-through Peach Fest in August instead of our typical Peach Fest. And that worked really well too. So I'm just putting things that I know I can still do if this is still an issue. And then if we can put anything else in, that's great.
In Philadelphia,
Yeah, go ahead, George.
I'm sorry about that. I didn't know my mic was on. So what we're doing is we're calling it skills and drills. Our gyms are open, but only based on the footage, how much people can be in it. So we're basically 12 people to the gym. So what we're doing is budgeting the time based on permit holders, and they can only play half court. That's called skills and drills. And that way we're trying to facilitate more teams, but they can't, there's a half-hour gap between them, which is inconvenience, but it's the way you can make sure that everybody's temperature's checked and that you don't have crossing over, but you still allow more than one group to use the facility.
Okay. I'm going to read a couple comments from the chat box just because I think they're important. Not everyone likes to talk on screen, so I can appreciate that. Muhlenberg Township is planning festivals for June through the end of the year. If they don't happen, we just cancel as we did last year. Others are planning smaller social distance events through June, full scale beginning July 4th. So like Jane, they're picking a date and moving forward. Hopefully have a plan B just in case. Derek's working on spring programs now. Again, he's also in the skills and drills as a way to program for sports, as it can help with spacing and social distancing. Is that correct, Derek? I see you got your mask off now.
That's correct, Dan. So I think I talked to you about this yesterday. We're doing skills and drills. What it does is it kind of avoids the issue of other bigger leagues trying to use our indoor space, but still be able to provide some sports programming for the kids.
Right, because if you do it for your department and then, you know, anybody else who might use your facilities starts I could see how that could lead
And
to.
right now we're using just our in-house staff who were helping with the camp and stayed on for the rest of the season, and our front desk staff, myself, but we're working with some other groups to bring more in the future.
Lena from Lower Paxton is planning to run youth programs such as basketball and summer camp, doing Easter trunk or treat type event, kite festival, movies and concerts, and other programs and events. We also plan for a COVID environment and make adjustments as needed. And Mike met this morning regarding the Fall Community Festival, seeking input from the county, but plan on having the event in some form, plan on it being significantly smaller than usual. And Nikki put up a poll. So go ahead, we're going to close that in 1 minute and then report out on that. Lena, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your kite festival. I haven't heard of that one before. Would you mind jumping on and explain a little bit more about that? All right, maybe not, but that's okay.
If Dan, I'm not sure if what her kite festival is like, but in Camp Hill, we've been doing a kite festival here for 20 years. We didn't get to have it last year, obviously, and I'm not sure we're going to have it this year yet. Council hasn't decided, but ours typically is in May, and we would have everyone come out and they can bring their kites, or they can make a kite at our event. We had Grandpa Bubbles come 2 years ago, which was a great hit. And Kathy, I think you were the one who talked about him at a conference and shared his information, and he was such a draw and brought a lot of people out to our kite festival. So we were really bummed we couldn't have him last year. And when I talked to him this year, he's not sure he's going to continue with the COVID situation, and because he draws so many people. So we're not sure if we're going to have our kite festival, but that's what ours is. It's just getting people out flying a kite, because a lot of people really don't take the time to do that unless they are at the beach, you know.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Thanks for mentioning that, Audrey. We have had a kite festival in the park for, again, more than 20 years. I can't even think how long it is. We had to cancel it last year, and at this point, we currently don't have a recreation superintendent to plan any events or programs, because we have not been given the go-ahead to plan anything. Our parks are open, people come and use the trails, but our county commissioners are very conservative in that sense. So our kite festival was an event that we did. We had a local kite club for a while that would come and help and fly special kites and bring in special people that flew these enormous windsock kind of things. They did kite battles. And our biggest thing that we did was a kite workshop where kids would make kites out of plastic trash bags and then decorate them and fly them. And we would give out prizes for the most beautiful princess or the ugliest monster, or different fun things that our volunteers would help to select those winners. So it was a really great day. We, in the last 2 or 3 years, I think we had partnered with the YMCA for their Healthy Kids Day. So they had a lot of other community organizations come in and do, hearing testing, or we had music, people with like different instruments that would like let the kids play. We brought in bounces, houses and things like that. Some other challenge kind of games. But so unfortunately, our event was canceled last year. We're not having it this year. Hopefully in the future, we'll be able to bring it back. But speaking of Grandpa Bubbles, we came across him a couple years ago, and we're having a summer solstice festival in the summertime. And of course, duh. And thought he might fit into that. We didn't know. It was the first time we were doing this program. We were going to keep it really low key. Well, we had over 2,000 people come to our park to blow bubbles with big wands and sticks, and it was unbelievable. People were walking a half a mile down the road to park to get to our park. We had one park ranger on duty. It was nuts. So he is very popular. And so again, I can understand his concern about doing this or not doing this program, because you share the wands and you share everything, but he's a lot of fun. And he brings all his own bubble juice, I guess he calls it.
Yeah, he calls it bubble juice.
Bubble juice. So
Can you share this information for him, even though it's COVID times, just to have on hand?
Yeah, I'll send you his information. I'll look it up, or if Audrey has it between us, we can send it to you. And
Thank you.
yeah, it was really different and really a simple thing to do. So you could do it on your own too. You create some big wands with yarn and bamboo sticks. I mean, he straps them to the outside of his car when he drives in. It's kind of unique looking.
And you know what, the poor guy, he bought a new van because he was carrying so much in his sedan that he bought himself a van last year and wasn't
Oh, good.
able to use it for one
Gosh.
show.
Yeah, that's because he would have it in this. He had a little compact car loaded to the top and hanging out the windows. It's kind of interesting, but it was a lot of fun. We had him 2 years, and then kind of thought we'd take a break because it was kind of crazy.
Grandpa Bubbles. Okay, I've never heard of him, but it sounds like a good time.
Yep.
Actually, I know bubble making was always a hit at our summer camps. You know, and getting the right kind of juice was always critical. All right, thank you. Let's see. Oh, Nikki, did you want to share the results from the poll?
Yeah, can you mute yourself? All right, sorry, I had to ask Dan to mute himself. We share an office, so we had an echo. Grandpa Bubbles, I think I'm gonna think of a side hustle from that, because I have tons of yarn at my house because I'm a knitter. So now I'm like, I might be able to retire early. So, but thank you all for answering the poll. It was a great question, Mike. So thank you for sharing the idea of doing the poll. So obviously you should be able to see them on your screen unless you close them out, because it was getting frustrating seeing it. But most people are going to be doing regular in-person programming for summer and fall this year. So 58% of you said yes. A lot of people are still doing hybrid, or they're just not sure. I think a lot of it's just pending what happens over the next couple months. And then I just wanted to see when people thought things would be back to normal. So obviously the largest percent of you are still not sure. So that was 38%. But then, you know, the other large percentage of you think it's going to be this summer. So I'm going to say fingers crossed that we all hope that it's sooner rather than later. So hopefully that is off your screen now. If anyone else has any other poll questions, you can just shoot me a message in the chat box and we can add a poll to the roundtable really quickly. I'm going to throw it back to Dan, or any of you who has a topic that you want to bring up or a question for the group. And thanks for joining us today.
Okay, thanks, Nikki. Okay, I see that we do have a email address for Grandpop Bubbles. It's not Grandpa, it's Grandpop Bubbles at gmail.com. So there you go. We can have him tour the state. I think between the 50 of us, we could really get him around. That would be such a kick. All right.
And he's got a Facebook page, so you can check him out there as well. And pictures and things.
Awesome, thank you. He does have a Facebook page. Okay. You know, he's probably like that uncle that comes and gets your kids all riled up and then leaves, if that's what I'm thinking. Okay, Kim, I'm going to read some more chats here. It says they do a January blast off into the New Year event in person with stations, and every year make a new rocket craft or do stomp rockets outside. We did the craft materials only this year as a drive-through. She's hoping for summer, to have a summer camp much smaller. How about this? You have a reaction button on the lower right of your screen, and there's like a thumbs up icon there. Why don't you go hit that thumbs up icon if you're planning on having summer camp this year? There's a couple. All right, well, a lot of folks. All right. For some of you that aren't planning on summer camp, do you want to chime in on what's going on in your borough or agency?
I wouldn't say we're not having it, but I can't confirm we are. Right now, I'm told to say it's tentative. So I can't answer your question directly.
Is Audrey's situation unique, or are many of you sharing that predicament?
Can I chime in here? So
Absolutely.
We're doing summer camp, but we're calling it COVID camp for the second year. We're not allowed to go on trips. We have to keep groups of less than 12 per room, and they're not supposed to cross cohorts. So by saying we're having camp, we are. But if we're having a traditional camp we had in 2019, we're not having that. So it's a little different, but it is possible. I mean, if you people need to quote unquote petition people, tell them, groups and size. Camp wasn't as great last year. It was still fun. We had some innovative ideas, but it's not what I would call traditional day camp.
We weren't able to we had some like basketball camp, things that could be outside and be small grouped. But as far as the day camp, our insurance company would not let us have it. They were not in favor of it. So I don't know if that will change for 2021, but that was a real big concern for our insurance company. So that's why the borough decided not to hold our day camp in 2020, even though I was going to do, like George said, small groups. And we don't even do field trips, and our camp is generally all outside, except if it were to rain. But I still, even though I figured out a game plan, talking to so many of you, I wasn't able to have it.
I don't know if we'll be allowed to have it, but I told the supervisors that I'm planning it just like it's going to happen. But they inevitably need to decide. And our insurance company gave us basically a similar thing too, basically stressing that they really don't want us to have it. So I'll check with them again before bringing it up to the supervisors again. But in the meanwhile, I'm working on it like it's going to happen just in case.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to chime this, Michael Lenhart, the borough of Pottstown. We ran an outdoor only program last year, and as such, it was very much pared down in terms of the size. Typically, we were seeing about 100 kids registering per week in our program. We were seeing about a third of that last year. One of the reasons we really pushed to run it with the restrictions in place was we're a small but very urbanized area. We anticipated that a lot of the working parents rely on our summer program as a means of childcare during the summer. So we were actually pretty surprised to see that we had such low numbers. And I think it really came out to that we just could not meet their needs in terms of the entire length of time for the programming. So what they needed was an all-day programming such as we previously offered. We couldn't do that with the restrictions in place. And so we sort of tried to meet in the middle and fell flat. We're going to try to do it again this year because we anticipate there's still the need, and there's still that third of the population that took advantage of it that does still need it. But that's just one consideration I noticed from last year going into this year. It's very difficult to predict the reception of the program because you think you know what folks' needs are, but you're surprised, as all of us are, by how unpredictable things are now.
Yeah, so you were operating at about 1/3, you said?
One third of what we would typically see. Now, like everybody else, we cut out a lot of what we do. There's no trips. We're not taking trips to the pool, that sort of thing. But I think the big change in what hurt us was the inability to run in any weather, the inability to run for the full length of the day because of the staffing issues.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Derek adds they're going to move ahead with a smaller camp utilizing the community center, maybe an additional half-day option at the park as well. How did you sanitize items? And did everyone wear masks outside? Is a great question from Kim about if you ran a camp in 2020, how did you manage or get through that? Somebody's talking. Go ahead.
It wasn't me, but I'll chime in here. So we did run camps last year, and having the kids and staff wear masks was the hardest thing ever to try to accomplish. If you can imagine, it was all outdoors. There were really hot days, and came with a lot of challenges. Like everybody else is saying, we were following all the recommendations and guidelines, smaller sizes than normal. We normally have about 150 kids per site, and last year we had 20. We were lucky to expand to get more sites going, but we had to, keep within the numbers. I think the total kids and staff had to stay under 25 or something like that was the guideline or recommendation at the time. And yeah, we had the staff sanitizing all equipment daily. We had our public works department supplying us with sanitation equipment, every week in the bins there to keep everything clean and sanitized. It was a very, very tricky summer. I don't have to tell this group that. I'm sure it was tricky for everybody or anybody that ran anything. And on that note, Dan or Nikki, I don't know, are you guys expecting or able to reach out to see if any guidelines will be released for this summer? Or do you expect anything to come out of Harrisburg as far as, these types of programs? I know it was on the forefront last year. Just kind of curious to see what your two thoughts are on that.
It's funny you should mention that, Mike. That was also a topic of our roundtable yesterday. A lot of people found a lot of good use from our PRPS guidelines last year. And we found that putting out those guidelines helped to move everybody forward in coming to an agreement on what they were. And so we are probably going to recheck everything and revise and update the guidelines that we have, since we're no longer, I don't believe we're on the color system anymore, or that everybody is green. So we're going to have to relook at everything, but we are thinking about putting something out again after checking with the other, Department of Health and CDC on what their latest guidelines are. Because I know even the equipment, the cleaning of equipment, that the thought process on that has changed a little bit over the course of the year. It's like, it's not a big factor in the spread. It's more about masking and through the air rather than contact. So,
hey Dan,
short
just
answer.
on that note too, what we found, at least on the east side of the state, was the counties really drove a lot of the regulations. And with between Bucks and Montgomery County, a lot of us are so close to each other. We found that the regulations were night and day a lot of times. So it got into a real county level, really started taking the reins of it, and it was very varied depending on where you were. So that's something to just keep in mind. Depending on what comes out, it could be totally different in your area.
Yeah, absolutely. We heard that too, that it was just the difference between counties was extensive sometimes. And so what we will do with our guidelines is make sure that they're meeting with the government, the CDC, and the state government. You people in their counties are really going to have to take that into account too.
And Dan, thanks. Part of it too is because some counties have health departments and then others don't, to your point, Andy, and that's what can get kind of conflicting, which is why we have the statement on our protocols, not protocols, our guidelines that said, you have to follow your local and county guidelines, protocols. They're all, all the different languages. But that's to the point, because some areas really could use the help, and that's feedback we got. And then others said, yeah, we just kind of tossed them aside because we couldn't follow them anyway. So.
The PA Department of Health, the events and gatherings indoor rate maximum occupancy is only 10%, but indoor recreation guidance is 50%. Is that correct? Can anyone speak on that?
I cannot.
I just didn't know what fell under indoor recreation versus, events and gatherings, because that's like a big part of our summer programming. If we have inclement weather and we need to bring the kids indoors and the limits are only 10%, we don't have enough room to bring everyone inside. But then yet I didn't know what fell under the indoor recreation guidance of 50%. Is that like fitness facilities, and what's all included in that?
Patrick, we can look into that a little bit more and see if we can clarify that. And if we can make that included in the chat box notes.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add my 2 cents from Philadelphia? So
please.
Our gymnasiums are workout facilities, not recreation centers. So you hear gyms, sometimes you think they're rec gyms. So our Planet Fitnesses of the world can go at 50%. Our rec centers are allowed 10%, but only in rooms that are, I forget the exact square footage, are you allowed to even be in the room. And in that room, you're only allowed for 10% of capacity. So if I have a room that normally fits 50 people, I can't have more than 10 in that room. Our gymnasiums, because of their big square footage, they're still only allowed to have 25 people in the entire gym, which is, I'm saying, Parks and Recreation gym. So that's how they're doing in Philadelphia. That 10% is really being adhered to. So that's why we don't have a lot of indoor activities here, but we have a lot of different rooms. So that's how they skirt around. We may have groups in different rooms.
Is that dictated by the city?
Yes. Unfortunately, the city of Philadelphia is not necessarily following the state's guidelines, that they do their own. I guess just the largest, our city being, they kind of change it. And I will tell you right now, I might find out tomorrow that I'm allowed to let 4 more people in, 4 less people. It's definitely saying fluid in Philadelphia would be the right term, because right now I'm saying we're not having any summer camp trips. Our pools aren't open, but our pools may be open. So it's definitely Philadelphia is probably the anomaly in this group because of the size and just the way that our mayor has decided not to really take the state's guidance. I think that was politically correct, right?
It was fine. I was thinking, if your guidelines are different for outdoors and indoors, which they are, maybe you can just charge a premium for summer camp, in that the kids who pay the premium get to go inside when it rains and the others don't. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. George, did you want to talk about your EA Sports for a minute?
Yeah, real quick, because I don't know. I know nothing about esports. I am not a computer guy. I'm 50 years old, but it's the thing now. If you do this internet sporting, they can win millions of dollars, believe it or not. The gentleman won a tournament, made more than the gentleman who won PGA Masters. And so anyway, Philadelphia's finally got on board, and I don't know if anybody knows anything about it. If you have a game system at home, you can actually play against somebody else. So now Philadelphia's making a league to where all over the city they can play each other. How I know is I'm just registering children. We're doing a 13 to 18, and they picked one game. Right now we're doing NBA 2K. And unfortunately, I'm not really computer savvy to show you anything about this, but you can really definitely get more information if you go to Parks and Recreation at phil.gov. I'm sure the gentleman in charge can send that out. I'm a worker bee on this, but it's really cool. It's not necessarily cheap, but we've gotten partnerships in the city of Philadelphia. We're working with a gaming group called Nerd Street. So 250 is the most you could have on it. That's pretty ambitious since we really can't recruit. So most of our recruiting comes to the facility. So we're using our Facebook pages individually, and it's a great concept. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just Philadelphia. I'm telling everybody, since technically you can't discriminate, anybody I know who lives in outlying counties, feel free to look into this, and you have children starting next week. And I don't, like I said, I don't think we'll fill 250, and it's PlayStation and what's the other big system? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but the two big major systems it can be played, and it's going to be 2K. So even if you don't want to use this idea, maybe explore more. So it's actually the way children are going now. Those, even with COVID, it's a great idea. The ones who don't go outside to begin with, play computers, they can play. And those who are being told they can't because of the COVID can now discover how to use their computer skills. Just throwing it out there. I'm done.
And George, thank you for that. At the PRPS full membership meeting, we had a session that had Nerd Street and I believe someone from Philadelphia who talked about esports. If anyone wants a link to that panel session, just put your name and email address in the chat box and I'll make sure that I can send you that link. And I did want to let you know that with the new roundtables, we were going to add breakout sessions at the end. So we're going to do a breakout session. You do not have to go to the breakout room. It should allow you, I say should, allow you to select to opt into the breakout room. And today's is going to be movies and concerts in the park. So I'm going to open the room now. You should have the option to choose if you want to go into it and have a discussion for that, or you can stay with the wide open group and just have general open discussion. So I'm going to try to open that room now and hopefully it works. And can you select that room if someone can say yes or no? No.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for answering me. And Dan, I'm going to go into the breakout room.
Okay, so I'm out here with everyone else.
Yeah.
All right. People still hear me? Someone give me a thumb if you can hear me. All right, thanks, Derek.
And I popped in here, so
And
I don't run movies and concerts anymore, but thanks for letting
so,
me.
here's one of the other questions I wanted to follow up with is what are going to be, once the COVID vaccine is available, what's going to be your policies with that as far as participants and your employees? Have people given much thought to that yet and want to chime in?
Do you mean in terms of masks, or what are you looking at?
No,
Dan?
once the vaccine is available, will you require your employees to have the vaccine before they can, go to work, or your participants, or, have you thought about how, once the vaccine becomes widely available?
I'm not really sure. It'll come down to what HR tells us, really.
What HR? Oh, that's good. That's good.
So it's out of our hands, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I similar thought. It ends up being HR's issue to push, and they get paid more than me anyway, so they get to take the risk. For my part, I would not be pushing it at this stage, but fortunately, I'm not the top of the totem pole in this case.
Yeah, it is. That's a question that, will deserve a lot of consideration and is fraught with some risk for us and for HR.
And my other thought, Dan, is staff, I guess you could, in theory, tell them to get vaccines as part of the HR process. But as a public entity, it's going to be really difficult legally to get everyone vaccinated and prove that come into our building. It is ultimately public.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Would you might consider offering your staff incentive to get vaccinated? I mean, it would be for their protection also. Okay, I didn't mean to put anybody on the spot here. Just these situations. These
Maybe
situations
if you turn off the
will
recording, you'll get more responses.
I think it's just a hard question to ask. what quite frankly is kind of out of our realm as rec professionals.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's a fair
I don't
answer.
know that we get that power necessarily.
But it will be some issue. These are issues that are going to come down the pike for you. Maybe not directly for you, but you'll certainly have a voice in it. Anyone with new ideas, new virtual ideas? We have the esports. Anyone planning something new this year that they think is going to work well?
Something I'm looking at, Dan, is I took on a lot of the promotional responsibilities since our public info coordinator left and our office manager left. So we're looking to utilize video more to promote the center as we get busier. So we're developing some introductory video production classes to try to get teenagers involved and helping us promote programs in the center.
Oh, that's great.
So it's still a work in progress.
Here in Philadelphia, we've tried to keep our Black History Month competition going, the pictures. So instead of them being able to submit them and there being a judging live, they're now, each rec center can scan them, send them whatever one, and they'd be judged via the pictures, I guess, the best way to do it. And then they can still be posted on our city website. So they'll actually reach more people this way, I believe, the way they're doing it. And so they're still trying to do activities, but now it's incumbent upon rec leaders to send that to the chairperson of the visual arts.
So this is like a poster contest?
Yes, actually, it doesn't necessarily just need to be posters. It's anything that Black History's use. So if it was a poem, that poem would have to be blown up, and then you could post the poem and somebody could read it. It can be anything that what Black History means to you. And that's how we do it. And this way, before it was like, if it's spoken word, there would be, somebody would actually come out and would talk to you. So now we just post it in whatever media somebody can see it, but it has to be sent via the internet.
Thank you, George. Kim, with your cursor, if you go down to the bottom, you should see a way to get into the breakout room. It should be a click on the bottom there. It's okay. Okay. Just stay here with us. We'll be fine. Anyone else have a new or program that you're thinking of implementing for the year?
Make it hidden so only people with approved access could do it. But that would be a way
something we've tried. I've been working with a group called the Edible Classroom, where they started out in schools doing gardening programs, and I invited them this fall to come to our parks, and they have some really good programs. Our issue was they were free, so as most of you know, when they sign up, there's not that commitment to come, but for the families that did come, they really enjoyed it. And so looking to spring and summer, one of our thoughts was to tie it into our youth sport organizations and do like, fresh smoothies after their practice or game, work with the senior center to do a garden, just around the senior center sign, because right now the senior center isn't allowing anybody to come inside. So if we can find a way for them to come out in to the park once a week or something, as well as looking to tie in with some of the schools. So we're trying to expand it a little bit because the families that did come enjoyed it.
Maybe
just got to find a way to keep people coming back, those that sign up with it being free. So we thought maybe the smoothie thing, because we could reach a lot of kids, every night at baseball, soccer, softball practice and their families. So that's something new. We're going to try to work with some groups that we haven't worked with in the past.
Yeah, and smoothies are very popular.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, and it may be something that looks green, and we'll see if they'll try it. But so that's the plan, to tell them they can grow it themselves and make it themselves at home.
Mm-hmm. All right, and Kim says they did a virtual crafts monthly handprint themes. June was crab on a beach, July was eagle, August was a frog, and we gave fun facts. They also did an ice cream sundae drive-through for free in August and September. We paired with our local library and had a story walk, laminated book pages along our trails. I've seen that before. That's
Yeah.
kind of a neat thing. Go ahead, Kim, explain.
Oh, we paired with our library, and what they do is every month they get about 15 pages and they laminate them and they put them on posts along our trail. We have 3 different locations. So the parents can use the QR code and say that they visited, so we know a little bit about how many people are there, and it encourages families with small children to walk the trails and look at the book along the way. So they didn't do December or January because of snow issues, obviously, but they'll start again maybe February, like later in February or March. And it's been very well received working with the library. So it's a national program. And we're also doing pine cone bird feeders in February. So in the past, we've had the county come in and they get the pine cone from us. They roll it in the peanut butter that we heat up and put it in the bird seed, and they get to take it home. But we're doing craft bags so they can either take it home, use their own peanut butter, or we're limiting the number of people who come in. It only takes about 10 minutes to do. So we won't have that many people in the building because it's kind of an annual tradition.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Hi, everyone.
Go ahead, Barb.
Oh, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry, Dan. First, I want to thank you for the guidelines. Those are wonderful to have in the Parks and Recreation Department. I did want to say, Kim, we also did the pine cone bird feeders, and we handed them out in a craft bag. So we had the directions and the pine cones, and all they had to do is the Crisco or the peanut butter. And we handed it out at our Santa Stop and Drop. So people drove by, and our Arts Council would hand those out, which the kids and families love them. We are doing a passport to the parks where it's kind of like a scavenger hunt. You go and find certain things that we tell you to look for, and then take a picture. And then we place the pictures on our website once they send them all to us. And then if they get all the pictures, we will include as a prize, a kindness rock. And then they can go out and start a program with kindness rocks out in our parks.
That's great. Thanks, Barb. Yeah, the pine cone feeders are easy to do and always enjoyed, especially by kids. We used to do it in our school. I worked in a school for a number of years, and it was part of the Christmas presents we used to bring home to have kids bring home to parents. Getting them home with the peanut butter and the seeds was a little challenging, but it was fun. Let's see. I'm sorry, somebody mentioned something else I wanted to follow up with, and now it completely escapes me. I had a senior moment. Well, that's about it for us. Does anyone have anything else? I'm looking through the chat box.
And I had one question I told my boss I would ask the group.
Sure.
If that's okay. For programs for children not yet of school age, since parents have to be present if you're not daycare certified, are people canceling those programs because, you know, if you'd have to have a parent present on site?
Hey, I don't mean.
Did my question come across or no?
Oh, it did. I think people are considering it right now.
Okay, I heard someone else speaking, but is there any movement on that? Does anyone know on the daycare, on the legislation at all?
You know,
Sorry.
I can't speak on the current legislation.
I can schedule this again,
but
or even a smaller
we're having
discussion. So if there's a day and time.
we're both talking at the same time to our
Yeah,
groups, so
I can do it.
we're going to
within
come
the
back
next-
together and I'll answer that question.
Yeah, if there's.
So we're going to be
All right,
rejoined
thank you.
by
I'm
the other
gonna
group.
Close our room, and sorry about that.
Okay, everybody else is coming back in. And can you, just real quick, can you repeat that question, that last question?
Sure. It's
Patrick?
dealing with programs for children that are not yet of school age, how a parent must be present if you're not daycare certified. So I didn't know if with the with the limits of how many people you can have, you know, it's difficult to also have the parent be present. So are people canceling programs for little children that are not yet of school age? Are you, you know, is there any movement on that legislation at all?
Okay. So, yeah, Patrick's asking about preschool programs and what to do if, you know, if you don't have certified folks and the parents can't be with you, what kind of, how, is there a workaround? How are you managing that, or is it just canceling? Anybody speak to that?
No, I can't right now, but we can try to schedule a preschool related roundtable because I know we do have some certified, Dan, I needed you, there we go. We do have some certified preschool facilities that have gone through the process, so they might know the before and after, so we can try to get a preschool roundtable scheduled, and that might be helpful. And I know we're going to close soon. So before we do, since I'm speaking, I just want to mention that if you haven't already, the PRPS conference is virtual this year. And we hope you can all join us. It is March 9th, 11th, 16th, and 18th. The website is live and it's prpsconferenceandexpo.org. We hope you can all join us. We have a great range of sessions. Our conference committee has been amazing with the pivot from in-person to virtual. So please check out the website. Please join us if you can. And I'm going to stop talking now and throw it back to Dan because I just thought I'd throw that little plug in. So hope to see you on future roundtables. Hope to see you at the conference, and thank you.
Thanks, Nikki, for that shameless plug. So I am mindful of our time. We're about 5 minutes over our usual hour. So I know we all have things that we need to do at our own places and issues to address. So unless someone had, oh, BK put some, a contact in the note about childcare program info. So thank you, BK, for doing that. BK is our Park Maintenance Institute Director here at PRPS. So it's always helpful to have another person on these roundtables to help fill in some blanks. Again, thanks to Nikki for your help today, and thank you all for participating today. I will stop right now though and say if there's any other pressing questions, issues that you guys want to bring up, suggestions for next time or other roundtables, why don't we take a minute and put those forward.
Dan, I want to thank you and Nikki for putting this together. I know you have, and I'm signed up coming up on the 18th, you have the camp roundtable, the summer camps, which I'm very, very interested in, and we'll be attending. I think there's a good chance a lot of us might be a minute or two late because that goes right up against the 10 to 12 de-escalation workshop that District 3 is running that morning. But certainly, you know, I think we're all planning on, or a lot of us are planning on joining that camp discussion as soon as we're out of that training. And for anybody on this, Thursday, the 18th of February, de-escalation training run through District 3, email myself or Ashley O'Neill for information. CEU is available.
We can go a little long on that camp roundtable. If you guys do pop in a little bit late, we can plan to go a little bit long. I know Dan won't be in on that one. I'll be running it, so I can just schedule out a little extra time for that one. So thank you for letting us know.
If you don't mind, that would be fantastic, Nikki, because it is definitely a huge topic for us.
And if you want to put the information for the workshop that the district is running in the chat box, put it in there because it will go out with the rest of the messages.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mike. That promises to be a good workshop. I'm very interested in attending myself. Okay, anything else for the greater good? All right, everyone. Again, thank you for attending this roundtable, and we really appreciate your input and participation today. We'll keep doing them as long as we have to do them, or as long as there's a need to do them. And we look forward to seeing your smiling faces again very soon. I know we have a whole series of roundtables set up for the next week or so. So pick your topic, and we'll see you there. All right. So, bye, everyone.